Making it into the big leagues in any professional sport these days is a ticket to the high life. Multi-million-dollar contracts feed gargantuan appetites for expensive jewelry, cars, boats, and entertainment, including sex. It's a good deal if you're on the inside, but it can be a nightmare if you get in the way of pumped-up professional athletes who have been encouraged by their coaches, managers, teams, and leagues to be aggressive. Winning, and therefore getting what you want, is the only thing that matters. This is the story of a Toronto couple who had the misfortune to cross paths of a group of big, aggressive basketball players seeking a good time on a cold April night in 2003. Hello, I'm James Shanahan, and for 20 years I was a detective in the New York City Police Department. I'm no stranger to street fights, tavern fights, barroom brawls, nightclubs. Usually when the police arrive, these things are messy. Very often, they can be deadly. What you usually have is a bunch of punks, a bunch of jerks, on alcohol, messed up on drugs. These fights are usually over a perceived slight or some sort of a remark or a gesture made. But I'll say this, never in my entire years in the police department, never did I have one case involving a slight, maybe even average-built man who had been sober, out with his female companion, who wound up getting a fight started with one, in this case even three, hulking, powerful, dangerous, and obviously drunk professional basketball players. Yet this is exactly what basketball players Gary Payton, Jason Caffey, and Sam Cassell have claimed was the cause outside a Toronto nightclub in the early morning hours of Friday, April 11th, 2003. At that time, all three played for the Milwaukee Bucks and were in Toronto for a key NBA game against the Raptors. The night before the game, they went to a club which employs dancers as adult entertainers. One of them was Vida, Asante, the mother of two young boys who had worked at the club without any problems for 5 years. Early in the evening, Vida Asante noticed Gary Payton glaring at her angrily as she was dancing for a Caucasian patron. Then, she said he had a nasty encounter with one of Payton's friends, who asked her to join him.
Do you want me to do some dances?
I don't do dances. I only do hotel rooms.
Well, I don't do hotel rooms. I do dances.
Disgusted at his behavior, Vida Asante got up and left to continue her work elsewhere in the club.
Okay, you have yourself a good night.
At closing time, in the dressing room, Vida Asante was approached by another dancer she had seen entertaining athletes earlier in the evening. This woman, known as Jordan, complained the group had been giving her a hard time and asked if she could walk out of the club with Vida Asante and Adrian Cimpean. As the club door slammed shut behind them, the two women and their escort noticed a parked taxi with its windows rolled down. Then Gary Payton announced his presence.
Yo! Hey girl, come over here. I want to talk to you. Yo, fucking hoe. Turn around. I want to talk to you. Come here, hoe. I can't believe this fucking girl's ignoring me. Yo, I'm talking to you, you fucking hoe.
Please, that's my lady.
As it happens, Adrian Cimpean is also a dancer and slightly built at that. Hardly any physical match for one, let alone three very large men. But he was standing between Gary Payton and the woman or women he wanted, and that couldn't be tolerated.
I can't believe this fucking nigga. Look at him. Yo, nigga, what's your problem? Do you know who I am? Let's go teach him a lesson.
Now, my advice to anybody who would find themselves in a situation like this would be run like hell and get out of that situation. But Adrian Cimpean is from Central Europe, and he was puzzled by what he was hearing.
Why are they calling me that?
Just ignore them. Let's go.
Do you know who I am? In my neighborhood, I have you beaten down.
That's him. That's the one that was bugging me in the club.
Fuck you and fuck your hoe.
Stop, you're gonna kill him. Stop it! Please, let's calm down.
Eat a black dick.
Eventually, Payton, Caffey, and Cassell returned to the taxi shouting and jeering and drove off, leaving Adrian Cimpean battered and bleeding on the ground. He called 911, but after waiting for some time, he and Vida Asante took a cab to the nearest police station. As for Jordan, well, she ran off, while people she had asked to protect her were being beaten up. The police quickly laid assault charges against the 3 NBA players, but after years and years of postponements and delays, tactics that I have seen over the years used by expensive attorneys, they were acquitted. It was even the judge that said that Gary Payton absolutely was the aggressor in this case. Since that cold, traumatic April night in 2003, life has not been easy for Vida Asante, Adrian Cimpean, and their 2 children. In addition to their physical injuries from the beating they received, they continue to suffer from anxiety, depression, chronic pain, and insomnia. That's not surprising, because neither has been able to lead a normal life. They haven't been able to work, and they're having a tough time making ends meet. However, it's business as usual for the basketball players, their teams, the NBA, their agents, the advertising agencies, and sports equipment manufacturers, all who make millions from cultivated aggression from big league professional sports. 2 years after Vida Asante and Adrian Cimpean had their lives turned upside down outside that Toronto nightclub, a book was published in the US about the NBA's culture of rape, violence, and crime. It reveals that 4 out of every 10 players in the NBA have police records for crimes including armed robbery, gun possession, rape, and domestic violence. It names a host of big-name players, including Gary Payton, to prove that the NBA is gripped by a rash of lawlessness and is out of control. What's worse is the players who get into trouble are protected by their teams and armies of lawyers to the point where they are convinced they're above the law. So when Gary Payton shouted to Adrian Cimpean, "Hey, do you know who I am?" That wasn't a question, it was a threat. And what makes this even more ominous is that the NBA has taken no steps, none whatsoever, to check the violence that is pervasive within this sport.